Good evening. Welcome to the January 3rd, 2017 regular board meeting. I ask you all to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Here.
Trustee Kruger?
Present.
Trustee Lang?
Here.
Trustee Vogel?
Here.
Trustee Papantos?
Present.
Trustee Vito?
Here.
President Argyris?
Here. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of December 5th, 2016. So moved. Motion by
Second.
Trustee Brady, second by Trustee Kruger. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. Any changes to the agenda?
None this evening.
Proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, and awards. I'd just like to make an announcement. Last year we started the annual George Heber Citizen Award that actually describes a citizen within the community that does a lot of volunteer work and just goes beyond. And George Heber was that. He was a frequent visitor here at the board meetings. Board of Health, he was always there, doing things there, the senior center, whatever George can do, he did. So the Board of Trustees and I, and along with our staff, if you go down in the lobby, you'll see it, that we actually have a plaque there that every year we're going to recognize somebody that goes over and beyond. That's a good friend of this community and what the community is all about. Well, I'm happy to announce tonight that the 2017 recipient is going to be Kathy Pico. This award will be officially awarded on the meeting of January 16th. So you have time to have some of your friends here, which I'm sure we all have a lot of them here. And Kathy, we want to do this. And for the last 30 days, 6 weeks, everybody had a part in this, and your name kept on popping up. And we're happy to announce that you're going to be the second annual George Heber Citizen Award. Okay? So be here, please, January 16th. Okay? Oh, I never saw you so surprised.
There's no crying in government. Club award.
Okay.
And there is no Garden Club award tonight.
Your shirt looks good. There you go. Okay. There's no appointments or confirmations, citizens' concerns, and comments.
Okay. Members of the general public may address the board with concerns or comments regarding relevant issues. The person submitting a petition, concern, or other comment shall be allowed 5 minutes to present their points and should state their name into the record. Ms. Wilson?
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm in a conundrum, and I am not an attorney. I'm doing the best I can to understand the statutes as I read them. And the last time I was here, I called into question our village president having access to a village vehicle. I mentioned one particular trustee that evening had told me it was only for village business purposes, and I only wanted to speak for what I had heard, but I know other people have said from other trustees over the last couple of years since he's had the vehicle that they had heard the same thing. It was only for village business. And then I brought some FOIA requests I got from the Illinois Tollway that indicated at that time it appeared that he was driving the vehicle during hours that were not business hours. So his response was that he has unrestricted use of that vehicle for personal business or whatever he chooses. So I FOIA'd, and Ms. Maluzzi is here this evening. I asked her, for records that would show that it was compliant with the law, where there was other compensation outside of salary, where the board had voted on a resolution, and her response was that the village does not see it as other compensation, so that statute somehow didn't apply. And yet, I'm still left with the conundrum that my village president is telling me that he has free access and that the village, all the village officials who are sitting before me, that includes all of my elected officials, the trustees, and our village manager, have permitted this. Somebody has. So I guess I'm asking you to tell me, how do you reconcile the language in your municipal code 2.06.040, fair and equal treatment? It says use of public property. No public official shall request or permit the use of village-owned vehicles, equipment for personal convenience, except when such services are available to the public generally or are provided as a village policy for the use of such official in the context of official business. So this was adopted in 2003. Some of you guys were not here at that point. So can you tell me, it's distressing as a taxpayer when I'm hearing two different things from two different elected officials. I believe Mary Papantos wholeheartedly believed when she told me that it was only for business, use. And Dean is telling us otherwise. I've been having my dinners at the Market Square, and I see him leave there and get in that vehicle and drive it home. And he's told us himself on the record that he has unrestricted use to this vehicle. I've got our village attorney telling me the village, you guys are telling her that you don't see it as other compensation. And it certainly appears to me that you're in violation of your own policy by permitting this. No official shall request or permit the use of village-owned vehicles for the convenience, except as what's available to the public. So unless we got a library checkout system for these vehicles, I think we got a problem here. And I'd like you to explain to me, how do you reconcile these conflicting facts that have been put before me?
I'll answer.
Please.
As we told you the last time you were here, this is not a question and answer period. We made an offer to you to come and meet with staff, including the village attorney, on December 19th, which you did not come to. We extended another offer for January 9th, which you have not yet responded to. That's the appropriate forum. We're happy again to fulfill the invitation that we gave you for January 9th, and that is the appropriate time to discuss this matter. You are free to give your opinion on the matter here, but this is not a question and answer period.
Absolutely. Mr. Ferrolo said that you are not obliged to answer, but I still have my 5 minutes. I can still put it out there. Somebody might feel the urge to give me an answer. I would like to recommend what other villages have done for Mr. Spendelis' contract to not be on the consent agenda, but for you to debate this because he is in charge of the administration. Okay, some of these other villages like Rolling Meadows, Highland Park, and Deerfield have made clauses that just cause for termination is these types of violations like we see in our own municipal code, where taxpayer-owned vehicles are being used for. I want you to put a clause in there that says that that would be a just cause for termination. So if he is ever pressured on the spot by his elected official, who has this, the board has the authority to fire him. I don't want him to feel under duress. I want him to be able to feel like I can point to my contract and say, I can't give you that, elected official, because I could be fired for it. So I want that to be off the consent agenda, and I would like for you to discuss that further.
Anybody else?
That is it, Mr. President.
Thank you. Consent, staff reports, there are none. Right?
I said, but based on the citizens' request that citizens can't ask that items be removed from the consent agenda, I would recommend that it get moved in the end of new business.
That's fine. Consent agenda.
Okay. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items.
Thank you. There has been a request that item 11B be pulled from the consent agenda, and it will become item 13G. Is there any other concerns on the consent agenda from the board?
B, C, D, E, yeah.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Brady.
Second.
Second by trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. Okay, 13A.
I got to read we have to do the consent agenda.
We did. just did.
There wasn't a motion required to remove it.
Oh, there wasn't a
Since
motion?
a citizen
Okay,
did
I'm
it, so
sorry.
that motion was to approve.
All right.
It's okay. 13A.
Okay, 13A, resolution authorizing the purchase of one medium-duty Horton ambulance from Foster Code Sales Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $268,518.
Thank you. Chief McIsaac.
Thank you very much. Before you tonight is a continuation of our capital equipment replacement program for vehicles. We're asking for approval of the ambulance that was included in our proposed 2017 budget that has been approved. This vehicle is identical to those that were just purchased and delivered. This vehicle will take approximately 11 to 12 months to be constructed, so we look for a delivery of this vehicle approximately December at the end of this year. This will bring our 3 ambulances into current similar status and in compliance with all state and federal regulations.
Cool. Okay. Questions from the board? Trustee Brady?
Thank you. Just, I think I might have asked this a while back. Since we're getting this new ambulance, we'll be putting the old one up for auction or whatever we're going to do with it. And I have to ask Mr. Monchain, where do these funds go? This old ambulance probably is worth considerable amount of money, even though it's used. If we sell it, where do we put the funds? At general funds or just goes in the SURF fund?
It goes back to the general fund.
Go back to the general fund?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Papantos?
Okay, actually, I was just questioning what was going to happen to the old ambulances. I understand it, Chief McIsaac, we have 3 that are being replaced.
Two currently will be replaced when the new ones go in service, and eventually, about a year from now, the 3rd one will go into service. What we have historically done in the past is we have attempted to sell these through an emergency vehicle broker. I do believe in this particular case, two things are going to go against us, just to prepare the board for this. One of the vehicles that we're getting rid of right now is 15 years old, which is very, very old for an ambulance, a lot of miles and all, and probably will not go for a lot of money. The other issue is 2 of the ambulances we are getting rid of are up in years, and they also were built during a time when International Truck had a problem with their diesel engines, and there was a class action suit against International involving these engines, and we are unfortunate to have 2 of the ambulances that were part of that class action suit. So the secondary market for these vehicles is going to be rather slim. But obviously, we are going to make all efforts we can to maximize the return to the village.
Thank you.
Trustee Lang?
Thank you. Chief, just wanted to ask you to please pass along our thanks from the village board for the foreign fire tax board upgrades on the ventilation and the stretcher system. Helps with the overall price.
I will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, one last thing. Wouldn't it be better if we took all this money from the sales of our used equipment and put it back in the SURF fund?
You know, it's a great question. The money that goes to the SURF fund really comes from one of 3 funds anyway, the general fund, the water and sewer fund, and the 911 fund. So in many ways, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But what it allows us to avoid having to do is try to predict what the salvage value of this equipment will be and have to budget for that in the SURF fund. Because in some cases, we may get significant value from the sale of a used asset. In other cases, we might not get anything. But to try to build that into our projections of what the replacement vehicle is going to cost becomes very difficult. So by putting it back in the general fund, it serves the same purpose as it would anyway, because we're going to end up having to make contributions in the future from the general fund.
Each department has to contribute so much depending on their needs for replacement equipment. So if a department is giving up a lot of their old equipment and, you know, we're buying this new equipment, I would think that money best served go back into the SURF fund. What do you spread it amongst all the general SURF fund or put it in that particular SURF fund? Just a thought.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's something we can look at, but, you know, we look at the SURF fund as a fund that serves all of the departments, so none of the money that's received is proprietary to any department. So and usually the amount that we receive for these used vehicles is negligible anyway, so in the long run, it doesn't make a huge difference
Have
one
you
way or the
ever
other.
figured out the total at the end of the year?
Yes,
What we get back?
yes.
How much about?
Not a whole lot. I would say on average, somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000.
We
Which
got
sounds like a lot, but it's not when you look at our whole fleet.
Well, you got 2 fire engines probably going out, you know, but okay, all right, I won't whip a dead horse, so we'll keep it going. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion to
So
approve.
approved.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Kruger, second by trustee Brady, I believe, right? Roll call.
Okay. Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyros?
Yes. 13B.
13B, resolution authorizing change order number 1 and final to the construction contract with Glenbrook Excavating and Concrete Incorporated for the 2016 sanitary sewer realignment project.
Thank you. Director Janik.
Thank you. This work was done on 11th Street. This was a sanitary sewer that was actually back-pitched. When we installed the large storm sewer, which was 72-inch elliptical pipe storm sewer 2 years ago, we ran into this pipe. And we in-house designed, bid it out, and we replaced it this year. This is a change order for an increase in the contract amount by approximately $6,000 or 4.3% of the total contract cost. It was basically due to soils that were not good. Where the pipe was, we had to replace those soils, excavate them, replace it with stone, and then we had some landscaping costs associated with that.
Questions? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Vogel. Second. Second by trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyros?
Yes. 13C.
Resolution authorizing change order number 2 and final to the construction contract with Kanzler Landscaping Contractor Incorporated for South Milwaukee Avenue parcel improvements.
Thank you. Director Janik.
Thank you. This project concerns a 4.8-acre parcel on South Milwaukee Avenue. That's on the east side of Milwaukee Avenue. We have finished construction on that project. That project included stormwater management, both compensatory and detention. It included storm sewers, included water main pipe that went across Milwaukee Avenue, and substantial grading. This is a change order and final to the contract. This is a reduction of approximately $31,500 or 2.7%.
Thank you. Questions? Trustee Lang?
Does it make sense to seed that area at all?
The area was blanketed and seeded. With the blanket, it's called a blanketing, but it has a seed in it. We are holding back approximately $25,000 in case that seed does not take next spring, and we will have it reseeded.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by trustee Kruger. Second by
Second.
trustee Brady. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyros?
Yes. 13D.
Resolution ratifying the village manager's execution of amendment number 1 to the local agency agreement approving federal participation for construction in Phase 3 engineering with the Illinois Department of Transportation, IDOT, for the Dundee Road Community Boulevard project.
Thank you. Manager's Fundos.
Thank you. As stated, this contract is about the intersection just outside the window here, and in the category of unfunded mandate, just before the signal was to be turned on, literally maybe 2 days before the signal was to be turned on, after it was installed, after the warnings up and down Dundee that said new signal ahead were activated, we got a letter from IDOT that said, congratulations, you will now be responsible for portions of the maintenance, or we won't turn the light on. So the reason this is before you, although the annual expense is only $5,000, it is in perpetuity. So that then would exceed my spending authority. So this contract is recognizing the village's responsibility for maintenance of that signal to the tune of about $5,000. It would have been nice to know this in advance. However, it is not out of line that they are making this request. But again, it would have been nice to know at the beginning of the project versus just days before the signal was turned on.
Anybody got Trustee Kruger?
Yeah, thank you. Manager Spondelis, do we have to pay any portion of electric and maintenance on any other state road-owned?
I don't think we do on any state. We certainly do for any legs of an intersection that are village-owned, but Director Janik?
There is a light on the state-owned roadway. It's actually a temporary light on Wolf Road. It's at Wolf and Strong. That light is actually considered a temporary light, and we do pay the maintenance and the electrical cost on that. But as the manager said, we do pay portions of some of the maintenance on some lights in the village, mostly on county roads.
So this is a shared expense? Somebody else is paying for a portion of it? Is it the 80-20 split?
No, we're paying the
whole thing.
The 80-20 was for the construction cost. The maintenance here, it will all be on us.
100% on Wheeling?
Yes.
Anybody else? Trustee Papantos?
Does the maintenance include the walk signals for this light?
Yes.
Correct.
And so when they go out, because it seems like they always go out, and when I'm walking, I never know who to call.
The way it works is that we pay the maintenance cost. The state actually is the one that comes out and fixes the light itself. They contract with different companies, and two in particular that are mostly done in this area, and then we pay the cost of it.
Will there have to be any adjustment to the 2017 budget based on this?
No, this is relatively small cost. I mean, it's $5,000, and these lights not much goes wrong with them, generally speaking. So, as the manager said, it's a $5,000 cost. I mean, it could be more in one year than the other or less, but they don't go out very often.
The contract itself is responsibility. The costs, though, accrue on a call-by-call basis. So it could be much less. It could be more, but we've been responsible for other legs in the past. We can accurately estimate this will be about $5,000 a year.
Thank you.
Trustee Vogel?
To clarify, when you talk about a leg, is it the north and south lights that we're responsible for? And they're responsible for east and west?
It's all of them.
We're responsible for all four?
Correct.
Even though it's the east and west lights are IDOT and county property?
Correct.
Okay. I thought it would maybe be our property or the village. No. Okay.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Papantos. Second by?
Second?
Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyros?
Yes. Just to piggyback on one comment I think you said, Trustee Kruger. This was an 80-20 project, and it was a $2.8 million project that we received almost $2.3 million from a grant, and it cost Wheeling $566,000. So we were lucky to get that 80-20 grant to help pay for that. So just wanted to share that.
And this is, Trustee Vogel, to your comment, this is what both the county and the state are doing now. It's much like jurisdictional transfers, where they're pushing local responsibility off onto local jurisdictions. It's part of what they do to balance their budget, and that's why I called it an unfunded mandate. It's not really fair, but it's the new business model.
Okay. 13E.
13E, resolution ratifying a contract for the Village of Wheeling to purchase the Starcom 21 radio system from Motorola Systems Incorporated.
Thank you. Manager Spondelis.
Thank you. I am very proud to introduce this next item, and in just a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Dunn to tell you exactly what Starcom 21 is. But by way of introduction, I wanted to tell the board and let the public know that the reason that this contract is being ratified is that throughout the process of negotiating the purchase of this equipment, which is what this is, the purchase of new equipment via platform for radio dispatch to dispatch, as well as the radios that our police department carry. Through that negotiation, our police chief and his team were able to negotiate over $300,000 off the purchase price from Motorola for this system. In a last-minute attempt to make sure that we got the best deal possible, the chief was able to negotiate another $110,000 from Motorola if we signed before the end of the year to take advantage of their end of quarter sales quotas. So by me signing this contract on Friday, the village saved another $110,000, and that's not including any additional savings we would have gotten had we waited until 2017 prices, where the purchase of the equipment would have gone up again. We don't know what percentage that would have been, but the $110,000 is on top of whatever savings we're gaining by signing in 2016 versus 17. This is obviously the backbone of our ability to dispatch. It is a new digital platform for our dispatch team to use and our officers to communicate with. And I will turn it over to Chief Dunn to fill in the vagueness of my explanation.
Your explanation was awesome. What we're attempting to do here is to replace an aged and unsupported analog radio system with a new state-of-the-art 21st century digital radio platform that will be encrypted, which won't allow people to use their scanners as they do now to monitor law enforcement activities. This will also allow for interoperability that we currently don't enjoy. This interoperability will allow us to communicate with other law enforcement agencies statewide, which we do not have the capabilities of doing now. The system we have now is over 20 years old. It is obsolete. It is not supported by the manufacturer anymore, and parts are difficult to come by. And this will allow us to move forward with our radio operations for the next 10 to 30 years.
Nice. Questions? Trustee Papantos?
I just wanted to thank Manager Svandelis and Chief Dunn. Chief, I happen to know that you came in on your vacation to do this. And saving the taxpayers that kind of money is really admirable. You know, I mean, you could have just said, oh, well, it's only, and, you know, not my problem, and you didn't. You looked forward to us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Lang?
I just want to say a year on the job and look at the money he's spending already.
Anybody else?
It's been a pleasure.
Chief, again, thanks for taking the time and doing this, and maybe a little strong arming with the guys from Motorola. What can you do for me? Go in and do some business. So.
Well, thank you. I think the effort was well worth it, and I appreciate the support this board has for public safety in the village, and this presented us with an opportunity that I felt comfortable bringing to the village manager to bring to you, so thank you.
And the future of eliminating some towers throughout the village is also another plus, too.
It will look nicer at some point.
Yeah, thanks. Entertain a motion. Motion by Trustee Brady.
Second?
Second by Trustee Kruger. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger? Yes. Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyros?
Yes. Item 13F.
Discussion regarding tastings at packaged liquor establishments.
Thank you. Manager Svandelis.
Thank you. This is a fairly easy change, at least to discuss, that came about because, as we know, Binny's will be moving into town shortly. In fact, at the next meeting, they'll be before you for a liquor license. And one of the items that came up during our recruitment discussions with them was a desire from Binny's to have tastings. Many times and in many other communities, places like Binny's, specific liquor stores versus ancillary liquor stores like grocery stores, Sam's Club, will have vendors come in and want to do tastings for their product. Currently, our liquor code does not allow for tastings in any of those capacities, either at a liquor store or at a grocery store or a Sam's Club. So before you is a potential change, a request for a change based on what Binny's has brought up and based on staff research that says this is a very typical activity for liquor stores and for grocery stores. And this, if you agree, and of course this is just a discussion item for tonight, we would bring it back to the board to approve in order to make the change to the code. A very simple change that allows both liquor stores and ancillary service businesses to, based on the rules provided, do these types of tastings. The distinction here is a Class D is specifically a packaged liquor store. and a Class D2 and D3 are accessory package liquor stores. I would add to the note that's before you a request from staff that you create a parameter for D2 and D3 licenses, and again, those are the Sam's Clubs, those are all the accessory package liquors, not the liquor stores, that those stores be at least 10,000 square feet. What that does is it allows Sam's Club, it allows the grocery stores, those larger wholesalers, if you will, to have vendors come in, do the tastings, but prohibits the smaller convenience stores from doing the same. This is really more of an oversight issue that we are able to oversee what's happening at the Sam's Club and the grocery stores, and that they have much more accountability. They are usually larger corporations than the smaller corner stores, if you will. Again, the request from staff is only that that is applicable to D2 and D3, which are accessory package liquor stores, not liquor stores. Liquor stores will be able to host these types of events as long as they follow the rules. Of course, everyone needs to be BASSET trained. The same regulations that are required of serving alcohol for consumption will be in place for these tastings. This is really just codifying a means for these stores to host these types of events, which they previously were not allowed to do. And I should say, the code was silent on whether or not tastings could happen in these stores. They were not prohibited. So because the code was silent, the answer is, if one were to ask, no, you could not do that. We have not had any problems with this in the past. And again, it comes about because of a meeting with the president of Binny's, who came in and made this request.
Questions? Trustee Papantos.
Do we know how the code is written in other towns, let's say Arlington Heights where Binny's is located, or Buffalo Grove?
Absolutely. There was pretty extensive research done to make sure, or at least understand, whether we were breaking new ground. And it seems that we were in the minority with our code being silent. So this is absolutely written within similar parameters of other towns. And we even had the discussion about whether there have been problems in towns that allow it. And no one has come up with a reason that this should not be allowed.
And I would like to compliment Binny's, their management, for coming in and bringing it to our attention and saying, we want to do this right, instead of just doing it.
And, you know, and they do charge for a lot of these tastings or events that they do at their stores. And the president and owner of Binny's, when we met with him, actually said, I don't do it for the money. I like to know, Mr. President, he goes, along with your board, is there a favorite charity in your community that I can take the proceeds and donate those proceeds to a charity of your choice? And I do that everywhere. And so it's not about the money with him, it's about him wanting to give back to the community and bring something special to that store where actually somebody will pay for tasting, whatever. Not just wine, but it could be a special bourbon or a special scotch or whatever he said. So I thought that was very nice of him. And John will gather some information together so we can discuss it as a board leader. Okay?
Thank you.
Trustee Vogel?
Well, are we talking about any limitations as to the number per month, per year of these tastings or not?
In our research, we haven't seen any communities that codify a maximum number of these. Because it's usually driven by vendors, that kind of creates a limited amount of these types of events. Binny's would definitely be the one that would host these the most because they have the most vendors coming in. I will tell you that Binny's will probably host several of them a week at different times. Some would be wine, some would be beer, some would be spirits. I also know that Binny's, without giving away any of their secrets, has made it clear to us that they have a number of additional protocols in place to manage these things. The answer to your question is no. We haven't found any place, nor are we recommending any. Certainly we could.
And I would echo that the limitations that we're suggesting do have limitations on how much can be served at a tasting. Right. There's ounce limits and number limits, so that's more of how it would be controlled versus the number of tastings allowed at over a certain number.
Like spirits is 1%, 1 ounce beer might be 3 ounces.
How do we control it now?
We don't because they're not allowed.
They're not allowed, but yet we're allowing them. I mean, I can tell you there were 4 of them out at Sam's in the month of December.
We don't
Tell you the
police
drinks, Absolute,
inside Sam's.
Cranberry. Imported beers was another one. Absolute and Cranberry, and then they had wines.
Yeah, Liquor Barn's doing it too. They're all doing it.
So they are doing it, so I mean, we're gonna make a law, and we have a law already, and we're not enforcing it, so why bother?
No. We don't have a law. Our code is silent on whether or not you can do this. If people, and therefore the answer is they cannot. But if they are doing it and we don't know about it, I don't know how we can enforce. Had someone told staff, we would have gone there and reminded them of the restrictions of their license.
Why is the answer they cannot if it's not?
Yeah, if it's.
Because it's not permitted by their license.
Well, then we have an ordinance in place now saying that it's not.
The license doesn't say that you cannot. It's silent on the matter of tastings. I think the answer, Trustee Vito, to your question is particularly the Sam's and places that do not have a license for on-site consumption. That's why they cannot, because Sam's does not have a license for consumption on premises, nor does Liquor Barn.
I just don't want to get into a home-based business issue where now we're breaking down Liquor Barn and everybody else who's been doing this for years and everybody's been
Well,
knowing
what we're
about it.
suggesting is that they be able to, now codifying that they be able to do the tastings.
Right.
And I think the
Right,
timing's
except for
good
PS
on this because the
Yeah, but-
licensing is going
But you have to have the square footage. PS Pub sometimes has.
PS Pub has a liquor license, not an accessory liquor
On the
license.
BL side.
But they're a liquor store. They are not a convenience store. Any liquor, so specific to PS Pub, they will not fall under the 10,000 because they have a D1 license, or a D license.
All right.
Right.
But the small places can't do it.
The only places that can't do it would be the corner convenience stores.
Mom,
The
pop,
Walgreens.
A1.
I mean, is there really that much of an epidemic? We got to worry about them and treat them differently? I mean,
There's a reason. It's a great question. The reason is because vendors don't go to those sites. If they were to do them, it would usually be the owner opening a bottle of liquor and calling it a tasting. And that's what we're trying to avoid.
Is that going to I mean, why would the owner do that? I mean, the vendors come there to sell their product. The owner's not giving away free stuff.
I guess I would say this is something you just need to trust me on.
All right, fair enough.
Anybody else? Trustee Lang?
Well, I'm glad we're making this official because sampling does work and it sells product and it increases our sales tax revenue. It's a no-brainer. It works. So the other places we're doing this for so long because it works. They sell additional product. Sam's is famous for it. So I had a question on that I'd like to talk about in the future is BYOB. And there's certainly pros and cons to that as well, but I know some other communities have ordinances on it, and we don't really touch on it one way or another. It's probably another one of those gray area ordinances.
It is not, by the same token, it's not allowed because there is no license that allows it.
So if the board agrees, I'd like to maybe discuss it in the future, whether it's something to do or not. I know some restaurants offer that service in other communities, and it's nice. And, you know, it works. That's why they do it. So.
We actually have the research on it from when one of our current restaurants was thinking of a business plan that revolved around BYOB. So we have the research. We can absolutely, if the board agrees, we can absolutely have that conversation.
Let me ask you this. Has there been any restaurants that have stepped forward and asked for this other than this current one? And then did they back away from it?
No. We've never had the request.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes, please. Manager Spondelis, I'm concerned about Bassett training for some of these, like the Walgreens stores. Who's doing the serving? The advertiser who is selling, promoting their product? and that's the person who needs to be Bassett trained? Or are people who are working the cash registers or work the liquor department at Sam's Club need to be Bassett trained? How will the communication be rolled out to all D-licensed holders?
Excellent question, and actually relates back to the previous asked questions about the size of the store itself. Walgreens wouldn't qualify. They're not, unless they're over 10,000 square feet. Some are, some aren't.
Flagship store probably is.
Yeah, probably the one at the corner is, the one at Schoenbeck probably is not, but again, that is a discretionary number based on what you all would like to see, if you'd like to even see a maximum or a minimum. Another reason that, the answer is, it's usually the vendor. It's almost always the vendor. Whomever is the server, though, would need to be Bassett certified. So if it's not the vendor and it is the store itself, they would have to have Bassett certified employees. Normally, your smaller accessory package dealers do not have Bassett certified employees because they're not supposed to be providing liquor for on-site consumption. So the answer is it could be either an employee or a vendor, but either way, they need to be Bassett certified. And usually the larger ones go to great lengths to make sure that they check, they don't just hand out beer even if you look well over 21. They will check your driver's license. Some require you to fill out a form before you take your little glass. They're very strict in who they're serving to. And then it goes back to, as Attorney Maluzzi said, how much that person is being served. So they have a record of everything, even just to make sure you're not coming around more than once. So I know there's a lot of answers in there, but.
So we'll communicate with all D-license holders and let
Absolutely.
them know, and then for them to execute that, they would have to then have given us copies of Bassett certificates.
Yes.
Otherwise, they should not be serving.
Correct. The onus is on them. There is no process for, say, Binny's coming into the village and saying, I would like to do this next Saturday or Sunday. Once they're allowed to do it, they are allowed to do it. Of course, it would be part of our protocol to go in and do the random checks, just like we do for purchasing liquor. But it would be on them to make sure that whomever is serving the liquor is Bassett certified.
Okay, so let's just say Walgreens flagship store at Dundee and Milwaukee is 10,000 square feet or greater, and I go in there to pick up my prescription, and there's a tasting going on. Who do I call to say, is this cool for them to be doing this today? Do we have Bassett certificates for whoever's here in the store today? How do we check it? How do we know?
I think the answer is Walgreens should have that information, because whether it's a vendor, the vendor should be able to produce evidence that they are approved servers, or if they are Walgreens employees, they should be able to provide.
So I could ask them directly.
I don't know as a resident that they're going to give you that information. If the village went in there and asked for it, they would have to.
If the village knew they were having a tasting.
Correct. But that's no different than a waitress or a waiter at a restaurant either. Or a bartender, or who are supposed to be Bassett trained.
Right.
I mean,
Don't they provide their Bassett certificates when they get their licenses?
They do, but again, throughout the year, as turnover happens, the requirement is that they have to be Bassett certified, but they don't necessarily come in and say, I have a new server, here's their certificate.
I see.
However, when we go in there, they better have one.
Got it.
Well, maybe that's something for the police department too, moving forward on some of these things. If there is a violation, the person that did do the serving is maybe our police officers need to ask, let me see your certificate. Let me see your card.
Well, referencing to what the village manager Svandilis referred to, we would only really act upon complaint. We don't patrol, we don't walk in and look. I mean, if we saw something, we would inquire and then follow up, as a staff later with the management, but it's not something we would typically look for. Certainly when we get a complaint about it, as Trustee Kruger was referring to, we too would go in and investigate, document, and follow up later.
No, but what I'm saying, Chief, is this, moving forward when we do have violations and hearings based on violations of the sting, okay? One of the things I think we all would like to know as a commission is the person that served were they Bassett trained? And do they have that card in their wallet or purse or whatever? And maybe that's something that I would like to see moving forward when we do these hearings for violations, that the owner of that establishment didn't care that Susie didn't go through Bassett training and served an underage minor, a minor.
I believe that's part of the report when we do have a violation, but I think maybe what you're referring to is even that those who pass, we should follow up with, say, okay, John Smith refused to serve alcohol on such and such a day. Congratulations, now can I see their Bassett certificate?
Right. Might be something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And this way, I think we would get a handle on some of these establishments and see if they are following the rules of the liquor license themselves, regarding the Bassett training. And maybe
I'm not
Mallory, with the new
opposed to the
licensing coming up in
idea.
April, maybe it's a good time to look at that and see what information we can get to these establishments as an update letter, follow up when they do their license.
Oh, and that's why we would like, and that's why we're asking this question now. Yes, it was brought up by Binny's, but if you agree, we will bring it back to you next week to approve and codify, so that when the licenses go out, there will be a specific letter that lets everyone know. And we'll let everyone know. I mean, we obviously have a list of everyone, so it's an easy enough informational update.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is there an increased charge now
No.
for people who've been?
No.
All right.
No. So the consensus, go with the recommendation, Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yep.
Trustee Vito?
Yes, except I'd like it for everybody who's got a license, but.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Thank you, and myself, yes. So you got your
Thank you.
consensus. All right. Okay, let me just get caught up here.
13G?
13G, which was 13B. You want to read it for the record, please?
Yes, resolution authorizing a Sixth Amendment to the village manager's employment agreement.
Thank you. Any questions?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Vogel,
Second.
second by Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Well-deserved, yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Argyris?
Yes. Official communication. Let's see. I'll start again. Just a couple save the dates. The State of the Community will be at Chevy Chase with all the taxing bodies, Park District, the library, the school districts. Harper College this year, I understand, is coming. So that will be February 9th at Chevy Chase, probably 6:30?
7 p.m., I believe.
7 p.m.? Okay. And then the same month, the State of the Village, along with the Chamber of Commerce, who hosts us at Chevy Chase as well, and a further time will be set up for that. I'd just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas on January 7th, our Orthodox Russian friends, for celebrating their holiday. And maybe, Mr. Spandelis, I know we talked about this, but maybe a strategic plan update and our annual meeting with the Plan Commission workshop. So maybe let's try to get some dates together where we can sit down. There's a lot coming up.
Scheduled for the last meeting of February.
Okay, good. So just want to keep everybody ahead on that. And that's all I got. So I'll start with Trustee Vito. Anything?
No, I was a little surprised. There's a couple openings for people filing petitions for certain offices, Park District, District 23. It's not so bad to be a write-in candidate, especially when you're unopposed. So if you're looking to get involved,
you should know about that.
Places to go, yeah.
Good. Trustee Lang?
Nothing this week, thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. For those of you who may have noticed, there's a lot of signs posted throughout the village about a lost dog. It's a dog I was taking care of who ran off. Please, if you see her, she was an abused dog. She really needs some help. Please call the sign on the posting. Thank you. And I apologize for all the flyers, but we were told how to get the dog back.
Should give a description.
Oh, yeah. She's a brown mix. She's a Shepherd, Rhodesian Ridgeback mix. She's about 45, 50 pounds, and she's got a red collar on and was trailing a pink leash. She was leashed when she bolted, so hopefully the leash is still on her, or at least part of it. Thank you.
Okay, Mary. Trustee Brady?
Thank you. Saturday's newspaper had an interesting article about this new phenomena called alcohol. As long as we're talking about alcohol for the past 20 minutes, half hour, I think we should discuss this a little bit. this is a powdered substance that can be either smoked or poured into anything that you drink. And it's an alcohol. You get just as intoxicated as with any drink. I don't know what the ramifications are, but, little is known regarding the dangers of this new phenomena. Right now, there's several communities that are looking into whether there needs to be some regulations as to its use or distribution, or maybe not even outlawing it. Naperville being the lead one on this here. I think I'd ask my fellow trustees on the board here and the village president that we have staff look into this, because this could be very, very dangerous. Young people that can get a hold of this stuff, they don't know what they're doing with it. How many young people die from overdose on alcohol these days. It's very easy to happen. Nobody knows nothing about this. I'd like to think we can protect our people by having some kind of, at least idea what the ramifications of alcohol are.
Okay. We'll get back to it, sure. I know Neighbor Hill just did an ordinance on that.
The sale of alcohol in Illinois is prohibited. It's also prohibited in all our surrounding states of Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Missouri. What our neighboring communities are attempting to do is to prohibit the consumption of it. So while you can't purchase it in Illinois or our surrounding states, to possess it is not illegal, just to sell it is. So they're working on ordinances that ban the consumption of it within their community.
Okay.
That falls in under the title of fireworks, right?
Yes, sir.
Trustee Vogel?
Nothing, thank you.
Trustee Kruger?
Nothing but a Happy New Year, and Mayor, I wish you all the luck. We'll keep looking for her.
Thank you.
Clerk Simpson?
I have nothing this evening.
Manager Svandelis?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Somebody's got a birthday this week, isn't it? Who's got a birthday? Joe? Is it you?
Not this week, coming.
Next week.
Coming up?
The 18th.
18th.
Who else? Dave?
15th for Ray.
Oh, Ray. That's right. Happy birthday, buddy.
I'm passing this year.
Okay. That's good. Well, anyway, happy birthday to you guys. Let's see. Entertain a motion to approve the bills for December 15, 2016 through December 28, 2016.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Vogel.
Second.
Second by Trustee Lang. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Jarrus?
Yes, we do have executive session this evening for pending, probable, and/or imminent litigation. Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Kruger.
Second.
Second by Trustee Papantos. Roll call.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lane?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Jarrus?
Yes, we'll go into executive session, say around 7:30. Okay? Good night, everyone.